Hello, and welcome to the first Code Technotorials podcast. I'm really happy to announce my first guest, a storage engineer or infrastructure engineer, and a good friend of mine who I've known for a long time, Mr. Josh Brandon. Now, a little about Josh. He's kind of a little bit of a private guy. Like I asked him if he wanted to, or he wanted me to promote anything of his or anything like that, or shout out his Twitter or YouTube channel. And he was like, no, the internet could just leave me alone. That'd be fine. So just keep that in mind. But he's someone that's been a member of like my friend group, someone I've known since college and even a little bit in high school. And he is, he's someone when he jumps in the group, joins the group, you just know you're in for a laugh because he is just a hilarious guy and a great sense of humor, great storyteller. And I don't want to talk him up so much that it's going to disappoint or something, but also you should know he's someone that goes against the grain. He's someone that's always kind of been there for me, someone that will set me straight when I'm out of line, someone with a high moral compass, so to speak, but in a different sort of way. Like, Josh is always looking out for the little guy or looking out for the person who might be unthought of or left behind or something like that. He's always trying to help his friends in need and people in need. So I see that in him, but he can come off a bit harsh sometimes because also he's not afraid to just kind of lay it out there when it needs laid out. So also a few other quick notes on kind of the quality of how things turned out. So turns out when you're trying to use your webcam in OBS and in Discord at the same time, it doesn't really work so well. So I had to do this virtual cam thing, and it was a little awkward, but we had to make do. We also shot over the course of 2 days, and there were a few audio issues. So what do you know? The first episode, working out the kinks, it just had to do what I had to do. So I tried to fix some of that in post, but I also wanted to leave it largely unedited. And it's not perfect. There's always in things like this when they're live and recorded, there's always something where you're like, man, I should have said that different and stuff like that. But overall, it's in there. It is what it is. I think it turned out pretty well overall, and I'm happy with it. Even though I realize I could have asked better questions or responded better, or maybe even I said a few things that I don't entirely agree with, but in the moment, things just come out. So, he's basically rose the ranks in his field by being a great guy and being pretty good at his craft and studying hard. So I think there's a lot to learn from this conversation and just a lot of great moments. So yeah, just really happy to have Josh on for this first podcast. Really happy he accepted. And yeah, let's get into it. But without further ado, here we go. I guess the goal of this is basically to kind of like, for young people or people that aren't familiar with your field, to kind of get an understanding of what you do and what they might need to aspire to learn to kind of get into a position like yours, and also just like the life lessons and just other little stuff. So it's a little bit loose, but the goal is kind of for learning. And I have some things written down here, like maybe we should talk a little bit about our background and just kind of let people know that like we've been friends for a long time, so it's not like this is new to us. We could sit and chat for hours about life or whatever, and it'd be all fun. But what I think's really interesting is kind of your story. That's kind of the reason I asked you to, if you wanted to come on, because I know that like, I don't know, you went through some trials and you kind of built yourself up to a place that a lot of people can't get to, basically. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that first, if you're up to it.
Sure.
So,
Um,
sorry to interrupt, but just like any of these questions, if you don't want to talk about them or whatever, that's fine. We can always just move on to something else.
I think given the time that we have left, we could probably nail like my background with the time that we've got left. Because you said you got a hard stop at 4, and now I do as well. I didn't before. Now I do.
Okay.
So we could
Yeah, sure.
certainly do the background first.
Well, let me turn you up just a little bit.
Mic check.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. I'll probably have to turn it up a tiny bit in post, but that's okay. So yeah, I don't know, like me, I guess I've told my story a little bit on my channel about how I was in DeVry for a while, and we were in DeVry together, and we kind of both had the same conclusion of this. The school isn't for us, so we both kind of quit at the same time, and then we also kind of had the unique thing of we both ended up working at a college without a college degree, which is sort of a paradox.
Yeah.
So maybe some people probably heard my story, or they could go back and watch my video and see it. But what about yours?
So the thing, kind of the opening capstone point for me was always try to be good to people, no matter where you're at in life, because generally it can come back and help you. Now, not always, but sometimes. My story is full of examples of where my relationships with people actually got me to the next step in my journey. Um, so yeah, started at about 15. I had a computer and it broke. It was a hand-me-down from my grandma. It was running Windows 3.0, and I wasn't allowed to get another one. We didn't have the money for it. So I'm like, well, fuck it. If it's broke, I'll try to fix it. So I opened up the side case, and there's ribbon cables everywhere because this is way before SSDs and SATA drives and all that fun stuff, floppy drives.
Oh, those days.
Yeah. So I get in there and I get me some tape, and I make tape on all the cables, and I record like this goes to here, this goes to there, and I try to understand it. I take the whole damn thing apart, and then I put it back together, and it still didn't work. Not even close. I probably even put it together wrong. I don't remember. But I thought it was really fun. It's kind of like Legos meets Erector set meets like computer-y nonsense. So I went to a library and I got a book and started reading about computers.
So this was kind of like your origin of messing with computers. Was that
Yeah,
that
and
3.0 old thing that didn't quite work right?
oh yeah. I still didn't have a computer at this point, but my neighbor did. So I would go over to his house and play games. Well, then we got a computer, and it was old. I think it was Windows 95 at this point. And we were trying to figure out how to copy games from his computer to my computer. He had a game called Entertainment Pack 4, which is just like a myriad of cheap, crappy games. And I really wanted it, but I didn't have any money. So what we tried to do was copy the shortcut on his desktop to a floppy disk and take it over, and I moved it to my computer, and of course it didn't work.
Right.
So the driver here is failure. It doesn't work, but you want it to work, so you try to figure out why it doesn't work.
Right. And at the time, you're just a kid, no experience. So I don't. Maybe we should clarify like what you do now.
Now, this is, let's see, 25 years later, I run all of the Franklin University virtualization, storage, backup, and disaster recovery platforms. I am basically an infrastructure engineer. The network team is like one layer in the stack below me, and then the operating system teams are the team that's a stack above me. I manage hypervisors and all of the machines. I make sure they're on. I make sure they're protected. If they blow up, I make sure we can get them back. And if our entire data center blows up, I make sure we can recover somewhere else.
Wow.
That's what I do in a nutshell.
It's really interesting to hear just like the difference of going from the origin story of trying to figure out how to copy a file to now just managing all of that.
Interestingly, the process is more complicated, but the core challenges I face are very similar. I never have enough money to buy the things that I want, like the tools that I want to do a good job. So a lot of the time it's like, well, how can I reverse engineer this and make it work in a way that is stable and secure and safe and legal, but on the cheap? So a lot of that is writing my own scripts to automate things that would otherwise have to do manually because we refused to buy a tool that would do it for me. Um, so it's the same
Okay,
idea. It's just different day, a little bit older.
I see. And to clarify, you do now have a degree, but at the time when you first got this job, you didn't have a degree.
I did not. I did the same thing, kind of you did, where we were in DeVry, and DeVry moved really fast. And I'm not bashing DeVry. This was just 18, 19-year-old Josh. This is where I was. They kind of fed you through a fire hose on like, this is a subject, learn. And
Yeah, I felt that too.
we also had an hour commute there and back every day. So like a
Oh
lot of our
yeah.
life was just school and homework and sleep. Like that was it. And then we started to figure out that like maybe we don't have to do just school homework and sleep. Maybe we can play Magic in the cafeteria instead and hang out with our friends. That's real fun.
Oh, good times.
I do believe that me and to a lesser degree you are probably responsible for about half of our gaming group at DeVry not graduating.
It's entirely possible.
But I ended up dropping out of DeVry. I actually dropped out of DeVry 3 times. Um, Dropped out, went back a little later, dropped out again, and then some time passed. You know, I got into the working force, went back a third time, and I was just like, yeah, I don't really want to do this.
That's
So
where I was at. I remember basically just failing a couple of classes, not because I couldn't do them. I just literally wasn't showing up because I wasn't interested.
yeah,
And yeah, that's kind of how it struck me too. And I always remember like seeing, you see, I had never been to like a dorm or a more traditional college, but I kind of had seen what it would be like, and I was like, why didn't I choose that? That looks a lot better.
yeah. It. I remember in our high school, the DeVry rep showed up and was basically like, "Do you want to make video games and do awesome stuff with computers?" And you're like, "Yes, I do." She's like, "Come right with me." And the next thing you know, you're in it,
Yeah,
and you're
that's what
like,
I got too.
"Yeah."
But
So
yeah, go ahead.
I break away from college and I get into the workforce. Did stuff. I was I had started going to Hawking College for electronics because I wanted to try to get a degree. And while I was there, I was basically told by my landlord, aka my parents, "You need to get a job, freeloader." I was like, "That's not nice," but they were right. So I applied at Best Buy because one of my friends worked there. Friends from Hawking College worked there, and he's like, "Dude, we can make like 775, and all you got to do is stock shelves." Now, time minimum wage was $5.15, so 775 was like a king's ransom. Um, so I go to apply, and you're supposed to list your experience. And I mean, I'm a kid, I'm like 19 when I applied there, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience. I put,
Right.
like I worked at this restaurant, and I'm going to college. I'm taking electronics, and the GM saw that, and he goes, "You electronics, so like computers?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you know how to work on computers?" I'm like, "I do." I was actually working on computers on the side just to bring in some income. He's like, "How would you like to work for the tech bench?" Well, now 19-year-old me is like, "Holy crap! I can fix computers and make $7.75 an hour. That's a king's ransom." I'm like, I consider it. Like, what's it like? He's like, "Well, the starting pay is 905." I'm like, "Hot damn!
Nice.
I'm gonna buy a yacht. This is
Yeah,
so
with that
much money."
perspective, it sounds like of course, like present day doesn't sound like a lot, but
No,
with that perspective, it sounds like a juicy landing.
exactly. So here we go. Start on the tech bench, doing work, and I'm gonna ramble a little bit less. I'll move the story along.
Sure. Yeah, we
You
can
start
kind of
working at
summarize.
Best Buy with me, and I thought that was great. Like super fun.
Yeah, and
Um,
just to like kind of go back to something that I think is really important and something that I kind of preach on my channel to kind of give a dichotomy from like a lot of stuff you see on other channels. 'Cause there's a lot of channels that say like never go into the workforce sucks, don't trust anybody, don't trust people at work, that kind of thing. You see that a lot. And that hasn't been my experience. And earlier you said it was about maintaining relationships and basically being cool with people that helped you get along this far. And that's been my experience too. But when I watch a lot of other YouTubers about this kind of thing, they're often like, I, people at work aren't your friends. You go there, you work, and then you leave when it's time, and stuff like that. And that hasn't been my experience. I'm sure it's true for some people, but I just think it's interesting that you also kind of have the same experience of, hey,
Yes.
be cool with people because it'll come back to bite you if you're not, basically.
So I fundamentally disagree with the viewpoint that is being presented where everybody in the workforce is out to get you, like you're on your own. That's a thing. And that was honestly that was a thing when we were looking for jobs. Like you were starting to see the rise of the change jobs every like 5 years if you want to stay ahead in the workforce. And to that I would just say what's your goal in life? Like, and that might be hard to answer when you're 20 because
Sure.
your goals will change, or they should. As you change as a person, your strategy for how you deal with life could change. I wanted
Yeah.
to make a lot of money when I was young. I remember looking for jobs, and the only criteria is, does it make more than what I make now? If the answer was yes, the next question was, does it make a lot more? Like, that's all I cared about. You get to a point, though, or at least I have, where salary is, I mean, I'm only looking at like a 5% salary increase if I leave my company. That might
Sure.
be, I'll make up numbers. That might be like another $10,000 a year. When you make $20,000 a year and you're going up to 30, that's enormous.
Right.
But when you're going from, we'll say a little bit more than that, you get up to, I'm just going to make up numbers, $200,000 a year. 220 to 200 is, you're already there.
I see
So you
what you
start
mean.
you start thinking about other facets, like how flexible is this job? Is this job going to just suck my soul out?
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing. Because it's not to say that there aren't bad jobs out there. You do, I think, yeah, I've had the same experience. It's more about having like a healthy job than it is the amount after a while. And I kind of did have the same experience in my 20s. I was always like, how much does it pay? I'll show up, just how much does it pay? And then at some point, it was like, how happy am I going to be here? What are the people like here?
Well, I don't want to sound offensive to the younger generation, but I think your priorities are different when you're 20 than when you're 40. When you're 20, you go to your crappy job, and on the weekends you go get fucked up. Like that's what you do. And I'm stealing a little bit from a Rob Schneider comedy skit, but like once you get 40 and 50 and you start to get older, it's like I don't want to go get fucked up on the weekends anymore because I only feel good like 2 days a month. Like I want to feel good on the weekends. It's a
Yeah, I
shame
feel
we
that.
stole that from his comedy skit. I thought it was hilarious because it's true. The thing that I guess I would recommend is look for a place that has a healthy work-life balance. Now, a lot of places say they do. Check them. Like, talk to the people that work there before you get a job. Young people realize that you're allowed to ask questions in an interview, and the question should be more than like, "What is your company's mission statement?" Like,
Right.
you can read. Like, it should be on their website somewhere. But just ask the people, like, "Is this a cool place to work?" Like, I think I'm pretty cool. Are you cool? Do you have fun here? Like, are your teammates all right? And if they struggle to answer those questions, that should be a red flag to you. Like, why? Like, you've got an open position. Is it because you scared somebody off? Like,
Right. Yeah, I think these are important things that, yeah, people should definitely realize they're allowed to ask. 'Cause yeah, I think a lot of young people, they'll just kind of show up to an interview and want to present themselves as well as possible. And so they'll kind of steer away from more controversial questions that are, just more direct like that.
it's I take for granted that I'm somewhat of an outgoing person. I like vulnerability. I like to talk about my struggles. That to me, it's a lot better than bottling them up.
I
Not
agree with
everybody is
that.
that way. Not everybody is that way. But it like when they're like, tell us about a time that you were really challenged at work. It's like, okay, I got like 15 of those. Which one do you want?
That's how, yeah. And that's like the interview question that comes up in every single interview.
Well, people feel like you have to have this perfectly polished answer. Like, no. If you have a job that requires absolutely no challenge or thought and that you can do on autopilot, then you're doing yourself a disservice, in my humble opinion. Like, if your job is that easy, then it could potentially be replaced by a machine. Like, do something that requires thought and is difficult and is challenging. Maybe not all the time, but there should be periods where you're like, this is really hard. And then when you get it done, you're like, freaking A, I did that. That's cool.
I
And
agree.
here's what I have to show for that. Whether it's a new program that you developed, or I have to figure out how to get 500 machines out of this physical data center into another one on the other side of Columbus, and I'm not allowed to turn them off. We did
That's
that, by
quite
the
a
way.
challenge.
We moved them over
Well,
the internet while they were on. Like, there's some technologies that make that possible, and it's much easier to do now. But there's cool things that people can do. Just push yourself. All right, I'm off my soapbox about that.
no, that was good. I think that's actually a rather important rant. And
But
yeah, about the whole
segueing off of
vulnerable.
that, go
Oh
ahead,
no.
sorry.
Okay. I guess I was gonna say. I don't. I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. Go ahead.
The reason I bring that up is just when people ask you when you've messed up, just tell them. Like, I've got one. I brought our My Franklin database down in the middle of the day. What that means is that any student trying to go to the franklin.edu webpage to like log into their classes or register for classes or do anything on the Franklin website, done. And that's stressful
Ooh,
because when you're in IT, you don't want to bring things down. Your job is to keep them up.
right.
And that happens, and I realize it happens, and I go, fuck. I tell my team, like, it's down. I'm working on bringing it back up.
There you
I was
go.
recovering. Yeah,
Tell the team, take responsibility. That's big because no one. I don't think anyone expects anyone to be perfect, but they do expect you to like be honest, basically, about what's going on because you can work with that. You know what's going on. You can be like, okay, I see. All right, let's help you, kind of thing. But if they don't know that, if you like keep it bottled up and try to hide it, then they're like, maybe we need to get rid of this guy.
it erodes everybody's trust in you.
Yes.
It's like, well, if you're not honest about an outage that we should know about, what else are you not saying? Like, it's it's a weird person thing.
There you go.
So yeah, system's down, and in the middle of trying to fix it, I've got a network architect on my shoulder, and I've got my colleague kind of behind me just asking questions. They're trying to be helpful, but they're a little too close. I'm just like, shoot, I don't need your noise right now. And then in the middle of all this, the CIO of the company walks by in his suit, and he stops and he looks. He goes, "Lots of engineers at one desk. You guys break
Oh,
something?" And I just locked up because I didn't know what to say. Like, I wasn't afraid to say I broke this, but I didn't know how to word it because he just caught me off guard. I went,
yeah.
and then the
Need a
network
moment.
architect on my shoulder goes, "We do have an outage. Something's down right now, but we're working on bringing it up. We'll email everybody once it's up." He goes, "Okay," and keeps walking. All of a sudden, I'm like, "You can pull up a chair beside me if you want, Jiminy Cricket. You're welcome to stay as long as you need."
Nice. That's the stories I like to hear. Like people that got each other's backs, and not in the way that they're gonna like cover with a lie, but it's like when you lock up because you're not sure what to say in the moment, but you're working on it. But someone else is, it clicks for them.
Seeing the time, I want to finish how I got where I am. Back at Best Buy,
Sure.
I got an employee that was brought under me called, his name was Dustin. And I had no say in him getting hired. He was on the computer sales floor, and then one day the managers walked up and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got a new guy." I'm like, "Well, it would have been nice to ask him some questions. Like, do you know how to fix things? Just basic questions." I meet Dustin, and Dustin's real cool. Like, he worked in other departments of the store, as I mentioned, so we got along okay. And the first day that we were there together, it was me and him. It was his
Hmm.
first day closing. I actually almost got fired from the company because I stayed over to help him close. Now, at Best Buy, this was a big deal because they were always trying to keep employees right at 40 hours. They didn't want you to go over. Well, I was a supervisor at this point over Dustin. It was his first day, and he did not know how to close the department.
So you had no choice.
Well, I did. A skeptic might say, "Well, why didn't you tell the managers early in the day?" That's a fair point. I did twice. I was scheduled to work 12 to 9. and it was 12. I saw the schedule. I'm like, ooh. Went back and, hey, we got a problem. We got a FNG, and he's closing by himself. He doesn't have keys to lock up. He doesn't know the process. We need to either get him some help, or I can stay late and show him. Whatever you want. They're like, oh, it's fine. We'll take care of it. Just carry on, little slave. Like, all right, sure. Go back to the tech bench, do my thing. Then again at 6 p.m., I found a new manager on duty, and I'm like, hey, here's a problem. Talked to it earlier. Still no dice. Need to fix this. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. 9 o'clock rolls around. We're 7 deep customers. All of them had computers that they needed. It was called a system customization. New
Those
sale.
take a while.
They do. New sale. Basically, you optimize the computer, and we did a lot of stuff. Keep it simple. I'm supposed to go clock out, and I just look at the line. I'm like, nope. I said, Dustin, you check these people out. I'll do all the customizations. We'll get them done. We'll get them out of here, and then I'll help you close. The act of me staying over to help him put me directly on what's called final warning at Best Buy. Best Buy had a system at the time where you had 3 warnings. You had like a verbal warning, a written warning, final warning, and then if you messed up again within 90 days, you were fired. Per their SOP, the only way you could get put directly on final warning with no prior offenses is if you were involved in a sexual harassment, like infraction. Well, I had not, and I had no prior record, and they put me directly on final warning because they wrote me up for every possible thing you can write someone up for: attendance, insubordination. Each one of the boxes were checked, so they use that as justification to try to fire me.
I see. This is kind of an aside, but the management there was notably not very good. And I think that's kind of a trend with Best Buy, from what I understand. I've heard other stories that aren't so great about them that's not related to us or anything.
I have no comment on that. I honestly don't know. I just know that the hand that I was dealt at the time was not awesome. But Dustin watched me get in trouble, and he felt bad. He came to me. He's like, "Dude, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Dude, it's not you. Like, it had nothing to do with you. We're good." And I meant that. Like, I wasn't trying to play nice. Like, I had zero qualm with him. So fast forward, I quit Best Buy eventually. I just got tired of crying on my lunch breaks. True story.
Damn, that's rough.
And I move on. I got a job at Radio Shack, and I was just selling batteries and resistors and cell phones.
So, Radio Shack.
And Dustin came back and found me months later, and he goes, "Dude, what are you doing in here?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I'm just working." He's like, "I want you to come work with me at a place up in Dublin. I think you'll like it a lot more." I said, "Yeah, man, I'll think about it." And I was at a pretty low point, like self-esteem wise, because I ended up getting evicted from my apartment. I lost a bunch of stuff. So you talk about trials. Yeah, that was a thing. I think at the time I had an apartment and I moved back in with my parents. Blah 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 boohoo. I apply at this place in Dublin at Dustin's employer, and I get the job. And I go from making $7 an hour at Radio Shack to $15.36 an hour at this company.
That's a lot more.
Yeah. And the only way I ever would have found that job was through Dustin telling me, like, "Hey, try to apply here." At the time, I was living in Nelsonville, which, for those of you not familiar with the Ohio landscape, I was more than an hour away from my job that I applied for in Dublin.
And that situation may have never happened if the whole thing earlier, Best Buy, you getting wrote up for having his back, never happened. So kind of doing the right thing in the moment was, he saw that and was like, okay.
That's the thing that kind of goes against the whole grain of, like, look out for yourself. Your workmates are trash, or whatever their sayings are.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some truth to it. Like,
don't let people beat you down. Like, you're still a human being. You still have rights. Like, if somebody's just being an awful person to you, get away from them, and get away from all of them if you have to. Like, take care of yourself, but don't be an asshole while you're doing it.
That's probably the catchphrase here. I know we're out of time. We could we could either do a round two at a later time because I feel like there's a lot more we could say.
This is proving to be very fun for me. So
Okay, cool.
sign me up.
Sure, maybe we could just continue tomorrow or something, and we'll patch it all together.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. Or
See you
for the
tomorrow.
viewers, it'll be see you in like 2 seconds because it'll
Yeah,
just be a
exactly.
cut.
I'll wear the same shirt.
I could probably do that too. Hopefully, I'll get this camera thing fixed a little because the way it's set, it was not intentional. It was just making do here.
Yeah, right on.
It's a little weird with the virtual camera.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
convert this bitch to a podcast, and then they'll listen, and this will be like ear porn. It'll be fantastic.
Okay, and we're back for day two.
I didn't wear the same shirt. I forgot.
I just went and threw this on because I just figured why not, but fair enough.
It's awesome.
Okay, so yeah, we might have a little break in the story here because it's been a couple days. But yeah, let's continue your story. I've got plenty of things written down for if we get stuck or anything, but I believe you were just saying that your friend had helped you find a new job up in somewhere. But and also, what year are we in approximately, just for context?
Okay. Working with you at Best Buy, we were 2004 to 2006, and I think I started at the job that I went with Dustin, which was a little company called Intravet. I think that was October of 2006.
Okay.
So during the 2006 was like a transition year, like trying to recover from Best Buy and then moving to Dublin for employment anyway.
Yeah. And okay. So we don't have to be like super specific with locations and all that. It's up to you how comfortable you are with it, but
I don't care.
fair enough. I don't really either, but
Yeah.
just want to keep you comfortable with everything.
So I ended up getting the job working with this person that had kind of worked under me at Best Buy, and we were on roughly an equal footing here at this job, and that was fine. That didn't bother me. I worked there until they shut the place down. That was 2008. It was February of 2008, February 26th. I remember they just called us all into a room and impromptu company meeting. Like managers are like, "What's going on?" And we had been acquired by a parent company, and as part of that, our company was started. I was like employee number 43, so it wasn't a huge company at all. There were two owners, and they sold out to like a parent company who was much bigger. And as part of the contract, they're like, you can't close the company down. Like you can't just shut us down. And the parent company's like, yeah, oh, yeah, of course. Well, what they did was they let go of the president of the company, just got rid of him, and the salesman, who was the other core company employee, he stayed around and made a lot of money off of this. They bring us into a room, sit us down, and they do a 4-slide PowerPoint presentation. And it's slide 1, parent company logo. Slide 2, everybody's terminated on this day, which was about 90 days from February 26th. Slide 3, except for these 6 employees, the developers, because it was an in-house software solution that we did. Then slide 4 was have a good day. Contact HR if you have any questions. And they actually had a little sun and like sunshine and a smiley face on the slide. It's like, what the fuck?
But they did give you 90 days. So
Yes.
that's something. At least it wasn't immediate.
Yeah, in hindsight, I'm really glad they did that.
What I often hear, the worst of the stories. It's like, we had no notice, we got let go.
Yep.
And I remember, this is kind of a random thing, but I remember you helped me get an interview there once because I was looking for something, and I made the worst impression ever, and I was like, holy crap. Well, I didn't get the job, of course.
Did you show up an hour late? Was that? it was
It
something.
was something. It was pretty bad. I think I don't have a good excuse. I don't even remember what it was. I think I legit overslept and set my alarm wrong or something. But anyway, all terrible excuses. I kind of
Lessons learned.
I showed up anyway, but I knew just going in, I was like, this there's no chance of getting hired, but I'll do my best and
Yeah,
just learn from the experience. But oh, I felt terrible, especially that you like referenced me and that like, not my shining moment. Jeez.
and
Eh,
I don't want to flip this and make it all about you or anything, but I feel like this is worth mentioning. The reason that I continued to recommend you, I knew that when it came to like showing up to places on time, that was not at that time in your life, that was not where you shined.
no, I was terrible about it in my 20s.
But you did really good work and you were fun to work with and you weren't difficult with managers. Like you had a lot of really good things going for you. So I'm like, maybe if he rolls the dice and he shows up on time, it'll be fine. And
I
it didn't
appreciate the
work
kind
out that day,
words.
and that's okay because we're here now.
Yeah, yeah, things are good now. All right. So that was back in the day. I don't know if you want to like continue your story. I guess we were kind of working up to present day,
Yeah,
and we can continue that as much as you're comfortable.
I'll try to
Or
go a little bit faster because I'm we'll
sure,
be here.
sure.
We'll be here for 1,000 years at the rate I'm going.
Right, yeah.
Um,
It's just a long lot of years to
yeah,
cover.
and it's my entire career, like
Right. And we
ups,
don't
downs, here, there.
sure, yeah, yeah, that's I mean, you're welcome to go into as much detail as you want, but I don't think it's totally relevant because like the main thing I want to get out of this is like your current position really, but how
Sure.
you got to it's definitely important too.
So get laid off, and I just take a help desk position for a company that was a healthcare, like a pharmacy provider called Omnicare, and I worked on the help desk, and I did help desk stuff, and I worked there for a while, and I tried to do a good job. I ended up volunteering to work for a storage administrator, which was somebody who handles provisioning data storage to servers. Bigger companies, that's important because you don't have 500 computers with disks in each one of them. Like that's expensive. It takes up a lot of space, and it contributes to what's called a like storage silos. Like one server might have terabytes of room, and another server might be starving to death. You're like, well, what if you could take all of the disks and put them in a single location, and then just give people what they need? It's like it's brilliant, and the storage array was born. I volunteer for just doing some low level grunt work for this data storage guy, and we got along pretty good. And then a storage position opened up, and I applied. I did not get it. Um, it got handed to another employee who I guess just he did a really good job in the interview. He showed up ready to take names. He had done a lot of research about storage and all of the changes that this guy had ever done. And I showed up, and he's like, "Do you have any references?" I'm like, "Yes, you." Like, I've worked with you for 3 months, and you either want to work with me or you don't. And he thought that was really funny. He's like, "That's a really good point." Unfortunately, the person who was offered the position failed their background check, I think. And not only did he not get the job, but they fired him.
Oh, because it was like something they didn't know.
I yes, like I want to keep that part a little vague, but
Oh yeah, definitely. If
it's
it's
nothing. It's nothing inappropriate or bad. The person just didn't have a license, and they were driving without a license.
oh okay,
And
and there are
I
worse
remember,
offenses, but
yes, I
still,
remember at the time. I'm like, so you straight fire the dude because, I mean, he shows up, he does a good job at his job, like, but they're like, not liability gone. And he ended up suing the company and winning, like a class action lawsuit. Like this isn't right, and
hey,
he
good
won.
for him.
Yeah, right.
That
So in
doesn't
his
sound right.
no, it's terrible. This was not a great place to work. In his absence, like I remember, I knew I didn't get the job because there were four of us that had applied, and we were all talking to each other constantly. Like, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? Like, these are my friends on the help desk, and then one guy gets real quiet all of a sudden, and we start seeing a little bit less of him. It's like he got the job, and that's okay. That's life. Well, then he's just gone. It's like, well, maybe he didn't get the job. Well, meanwhile, I had applied at another place where that Dustin guy, the same Dustin, was working. And I actually got the job. They're like, here, man, here's your offer letter. It was a $5 an hour pay cut, though, which I wasn't thrilled about. But I was contract at the time, so this would have been full time. And that's a big deal because there's benefits and blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, sure. That more than makes up for the $5 an hour, probably.
So
Uh,
on my way back to the company, I was talking on the phone. I'm like, to my dad, I'm like, what do you think? Like, yes, no. And he's like, well, it sounds like it might work. Whatever, irrelevant. I get to work and I get pulled into a meeting and they're like, we want to give you the storage administrator job. And here it is. And it's a $5 an hour pay raise and full time. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I went from contractor to full time and got a huge raise, like living the life.
okay. So was this at your current place or the place before?
The place right before.
Okay, gotcha.
It was at this place, this Omnicare place, that I started to learn data storage and what being an IT system administrator was like. I got introduced
Gotcha.
to like the politics and budgeting and like trying to fix stuff when it's broken and just all of that normal IT sysadmin life. And I'm about 24 when all this is going on. So like
Cool.
I'm reliable, but I'm still kind of young.
Yeah.
Fast forward to where I'm at now. I got kind of miserable working there. There was a lot of management changes, and I just started to hate my job. Like I know a lot of people hate their job, but like there's a point where you're just miserable. Like every moment you're there, you just want to be somewhere else, and you never want to go. And like this takes up a
Uh,
lot of my life. Like
yeah, I
I
know that
want to
feeling.
be. I don't necessarily want to be like super happy all the time. I just want to be like super not unhappy. Like
Yeah, I see.
and I apply at Franklin University, which is where I work now. Little Franklin University.
Reppin'.
Yeah. Hashtag. And I end up getting the job there. That's one of the first jobs where I felt like I walked in and I knew enough to where I could be pretty confident. A lot of my jobs up to this point were because I knew somebody or I had like I made the person laugh in the interview. Like it wasn't because I felt like I was amazing because and I to be fair, I don't now, but I at least had enough credit to where I could sit down and interview sensibly. They ask questions and I can give answers. Um, and I show up at Franklin.
Cool.
I
So,
started at Franklin doing storage, which was what I did at Omnicare, but now I'm doing like storage and are responsible for our virtualization stack. So I handle basically everything above networking and below operating system. So provisioning servers, the storage for them, backing them up, disaster recovery, all of that stuff is under my purview.
okay, that's interesting. So I have some things kind of listed here just to kind of ask you that I think people will be interested in.
Sure.
Okay, so like, how much does programming come up? I know you kind of mentioned you wrote scripts sometimes, often to kind of save, in case you couldn't get a tool or something. You would often
Yes.
just handle it with a script. How much of your life have you simplified with these scripts, and what do you usually use? Is it just batch scripts, or is it Linux?
A lot of questions there. I'll pick them apart and
Yeah,
answer them
sure.
in
However you want to
sequence.
do it.
So I'll answer your last question first. I use shell scripts. I've done a little bit in Perl. Uh, I primarily use PowerShell just because it ties in really well to the applications that I use.
Gotcha.
I mentioned before that I the the tools that I'm trying to write or the jobs that I'm trying to accomplish are basically if only I had money, I would buy a tool to extract data from an app. Well, I don't have the money, but the data is still in the app. So I just need to figure out how to get it out.
I
And
see.
PowerShell has a lot of commandlets that tie into specific applications, and it makes it, I don't want to say easy, but it makes it possible. to just
Gotcha.
go through and pick through it and start getting it out and massaging it the way you need.
And how did you learn these? Did someone like give you a course or hands-on training, or did you just kind of figure it out as you went?
The way that I did it, I got my bachelor's degree from Franklin University, and we took a little bit of programming classes, but it wasn't your
Mhm.
classic like here's Java, here's C++, here's JavaScript. It was like here's PowerShell, here's Perl, and they were part of operating system administration classes. So I mean, it was a very quick. Here's how to write a very basic program in Perl. Here's
Oh,
how to
okay.
write a very basic program in PowerShell, just to do something.
Gotcha. And what was your degree in that had those
Uh,
courses?
that was information technology.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I didn't have anything like that with computer science. It was like
Yep.
straight to memory and programming,
Yeah.
and all the IT stuff was pretty much left out.
And I wonder sometimes if I should have just done a computer science degree, because more and more of my job is about creating things and processes to do things efficiently and cheaply. And I've actually considered going back and getting a subsequent bachelor's in just computer science, just because
Cool.
it'll force me to go through programming languages and get better at them.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot you can learn online too. And my main one's C++. So if you ever get
Yep.
into that, I'd be happy to sit down with you and play around with whatever you're working on. Or
Right on.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but
It's all right.
my love is definitely programming, and but I get it. I kind of like the scripting stuff too. It's pretty useful for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So how was life with remote doing all this when COVID was going on?
Honestly, not that bad. It's been pretty awesome. Um, most of my job is about connecting to remote things and doing stuff on them.
Okay. So the
I
in
can,
person is pretty rare anyways. You
my customers usually come through tickets. I do manage virtual labs at Franklin University also. So I'll have students that are having trouble with a course, and it's, hey, my router's not working. And, we're not allowed to give them answers. So we always have to walk the line to figure out what's going on. And then it's like, well, check the config of your router, because the way that it's configured, it's not going to do what you need it to do. Maybe check steps 1 through 5 of lab 1 for some inspiration. And they're like, okay, I got it, thanks. And so those can come in no matter where I'm at. I can be at work, on campus, or I can be in my basement. I still have access to our ticketing system. Uh,
gotcha.
my work employs a lot of instant messaging tools and email, and all of that works everywhere. Actually, I can do a lot of my job from my phone.
Nice.
I set up a remote desktop app that connects to my computer, and then from there I just hop on VPN and and do it all.
That's cool. I have that
That's
set
pretty
up
neat.
for our game servers that I
Yep.
occasionally host. Being able to access from anywhere really comes in handy.
Yes, it does.
Did you have anything new? Were you like did you kind of have all this remote stuff prepared anyway before COVID, or did you get it set up after you figured out?
So I had it all prepared before.
Okay.
Um, I can remember the Friday when we had a discussion about basically switching to remote, because my team's a technical infrastructure team, so we're part of that. Like the network team is my sister team or brother team, like a sibling team. We just said, can our VPN concentrator handle the entire university traffic all at once? And the answer was maybe. So what we did was we configured what's called a split tunnel VPN. That's where work traffic is forced through the VPN, and all other traffic just goes through the regular web browser outside of the VPN. That
Okay.
way people can YouTube in peace and not bog the university resources down.
Gotcha. I remember
Yep.
when I was working at Ohio University, we had a problem where too many people were watching Netflix and it was bogging down everything.
That is a real problem. I don't believe that was. I don't blame Ohio University for that because we had Urbana University, which was a second college that we owned, um, from like 2014 to 2020. Unfortunately, due to COVID, um, it's not here anymore. That's a whole other story. I'm I'm just a messenger, like awkward. But Urbana was a traditional university that had students, dorms, PlayStations, Xboxes, YouTube, all that, Netflix. We had to configure QoS because they would they would Netflix so hard that it would just fill up the pipe.
I think that's what we ended up doing too.
Yeah,
But I
like pretty
was,
severe QoS. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get awesome frame rates on this. Sorry.
gotta do what you gotta do. It's not like they need it for their classes. I guess,
Well,
I don't know.
that's where it gets interesting because like
Research
there
and
was
documentation or documentaries and stuff.
historically Franklin has always been hesitant to avoid like do any kind of blocking towards YouTube because people do look at academic things on YouTube, like videos and trainings, and
Sure,
so
yeah.
they can't just shut it down. Um, Now, of course, there's people that abuse it as well. That's a whole other thing.
Right. Okay. So what kind of advice do you have for someone else that might be looking to go towards your type of career? We've probably already touched on a lot of that, but I have that written down. So,
Sure. I would say spend time making a plan on what you think you want to do, and don't be afraid to try different things if what you're working in isn't cutting it for you. I remember when I was younger, I was all about chasing the dollar. I think we talked about this last time. And as I've got older, I want to do a good job while I'm at work. I want to help the people that I'm supposed to help. But when I'm not at work, I want to spend time with my friends, my family, like my hobbies. I don't want to be miserable all the time. And we spend a lot of time at work. Like we spend a lot of time at work. We spend almost as much time or more time with our work people than we do our own families.
sure.
So don't settle for a place that sucks. And I'm not trying to toot Franklin University's horn, but they are fantastic. The people I work with, they're amazing. Like I like all of them.
So the shift from your previous job to this one, just night and day difference.
I remember I was so bitter when I left the other place that as I was talking to HR, getting the offer letter, and they were talking about perks and benefits of the job, she actually said something like, and blah, blah, blah. Um, we do performance bonuses. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Because my last place did performance bonuses as well, but we never saw them. And she's like, no, I'm serious. I've been here for X years and I have always got one. I'm like, oh, is that right? How's that work? And she explained it, and it's a real thing. I'm like,
So naturally, you were skeptical from the previous experience.
yeah, you get jaded because sometimes people they promise the world and then they don't deliver anything close to it. And I guess that's another thing I would say for advice. Like if somebody offers you something and it sounds too good to be true, ask questions.
Makes sense.
Like you say here, blah blah blah. Like, can you elaborate on that? What does that mean? Based on what it says, could I expect this? Oh no, that's not it at all. Ah, okay, thanks. I'm glad we had this conversation because now I don't want to work here or whatever your
Right.
mileage may vary.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense to get clarity, especially if it's something like performance bonuses. What kind of performance, I imagine I'd have questions too. But that's good because a lot of people will just nod along and will think good enough, but they won't really know what it means. So I think it's definitely valuable to ask questions.
Another thing that is interesting to watch is how companies handle like the hard times. Like maybe they have a few quarters or a few years where things aren't going real great.
Yeah.
Like what's their solution? If their solution is to chop people first, you got to wonder about that because you're losing tribal knowledge in addition to the work it takes to retrain replacements.
I like the word tribal knowledge.
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's like I know how things work because I've been here for a while.
Right.
I know that on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock that door's going to open and there's going to be somebody coming through needing something or something random.
Yeah.
You figure it out, and it's hard to put that on paper, but it's useful,
And
especially in the business process, like understanding how business works in your place. And this manager tends to like things presented in this format. Those are invaluable resources.
definitely. I think we called that institutional knowledge at OU.
Which that sounds way more sophisticated than me. Like I'm running around throwing coconuts at people or something.
Maybe it's because we played a bunch of Valheim.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
true.
All right, I got one that's a little less work related.
Awesome.
So yeah, I know you do jiu-jitsu. You're always talking about it and been in that world. Has that affected your work, or I don't know? I guess I just kind of want to hear you talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So has it affected my work? Yes, absolutely. Um, when you break bones, it's harder to type. Who knew? I'm kidding. I'm
Have
kidding.
you had to take time off of work from some injuries?
So, short answer, yes. Longer answer, both from and not from jujitsu. Um, I've had 4 surgeries in the past 6 years. My body kind of sucks. Haha, self. Um, I had a problem with my neck, and I was out of Franklin for 8 weeks. I took 8 weeks continuous off, and they gave me short-term disability, which covered my salary. My boss was great. My coworkers were great. My coworkers actually came and visited me once, like for lunch. They picked me up. Um, that's a big deal.
That's
So
super cool.
yeah, because I wasn't allowed to leave. Like my neck was literally reforming. Like they had to take bones out and put new bones in. Like it was a treat.
Wow.
So back to jujitsu. I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've done it for about, I think April will be 5 years. So 2 months from, or next month actually will be 5 years. The thing about jiu-jitsu is it teaches perseverance and growth through discomfort. In jiu-jitsu, you fail at things. You try to do something to someone and it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, it has a really bad result usually. You're flat on your back with somebody on top of you. That's not a fun place to be.
Gotcha. And they get you in some kind of hold or something.
Oh yeah, very rarely does it get better once you're at least at my level. But one of the things you learn is just there's beauty in some suffering. Like, and you see it a lot in a project at work. Case in point, I just got done creating a process to automate data collection so that I can trend how much of our backup storage we're using at any given time. And it shows a nice little sine wave of like, this time of the month it's high, then it's low, and blah, blah, blah. And I was really proud of myself. It took forever, but I got it working and everything was automated. And I upgraded my backup environment and I broke all of it. It doesn't work at all. This was last Friday. So today is Wednesday. This was 4 days ago. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, oh God, I worked for 2 months on this. So now I have to figure out, like, I'm either going to rebuild it or I'm going to build a new way to do it. I still need to get it done. And I kind of got my shoulders flat on the mat. Now I got to crawl out and do it again.
Is that something that like your boss asked you to do or anything like that? Or was it just like, I would really like to have this kind of thing?
Unfortunately, it was the former.
Okay.
The performance bonuses I talked about are based on goals. And I do a manual, like, data collection on our usage. And my boss is like, I'd really like it if you could automate that so that I could see it at any time. I said, okay, sounds good. I'll get to work.
Cool.
And I got it. The end of the period was July, or is July. So I'm like, it's March. Nailed it. And then I broke it all. I'm like, well, still got some time.
That's interesting. War stories. All right. Do you happen to have any secret tips about this field that people may not know? Not necessarily secret, but like Just things that the average person wouldn't necessarily know until they were deep in it.
What?
If not, that's fine. It's
No,
just
I'm
something I
trying to
kind of
figure
thought
out
of.
how to word it
Sure.
so I don't ramble for 20 minutes.
Okay, okay.
In my career, I have often been responsible for a lot of things at once. Meaning, like we used to have a 4-person team and now we're down to 2 people because, people have moved on and they just didn't fill the positions. I have I have a lot that I'm supposed to keep track of. Don't let that be an excuse to not have expertise in the things that you manage, because being ignorant of how something works is not an excuse to end up making big mistakes. Especially now, we live in an era where if you want to know anything about anything, just go on the internet and read. Go to a forum, ask questions. You'll find people that are really bright and very good at sharing information. I would say that those people are a little bit rare because sometimes people are very bright and they're just mean.
Stack Overflow.
RTFM noob. It's like I'm trying to RTFM. I don't understand TFM. That's why I'm asking questions. But you'll find people that they can break concepts down and explain it to you, and that it returns dividends. Like I just did a meeting today where somebody was trying to pitch a replacement, product solution to me, and it didn't pass my sniff test. And as I started asking questions and picking it apart, they're just like, "Wow, you really know what you're talking about on this." I'm like, "Yeah. Like if I'm gonna ask the university to spend money on this, I need to understand it. I need to be the person who can say, I have looked into this. I have spent a lot of freaking time reading about it. I've asked questions. I've done demos. Like, I get it. And I'm confident if we bought it, it would work." Don't guess on stuff like that because those are costly mistakes.
That's a good one. I like it. Yeah, my list is pretty much over. I have, I guess, one more thing that's pretty unrelated to. I guess it's related to work advancement. So for the audience, Josh and I were kind of having a conversation about calling the calling list, not call with a U, about kind of just tightening the inner circle a little bit as a way to make sure your life is like on the right track and you don't have the wrong people kind of weighing you down or something. It's kind of hard to explain, but I don't know. We had some interesting conversations just between us, totally offline. So I don't know. I just think that's something other people might be interested in hearing a little bit because it's inevitable that pretty much everybody has someone in their life that's hard to deal with. And it's how do you make the call of who you can help and who you can't?
It's Everybody's allowed to have a bad day.
Sure, yeah,
And some people's bad days are really, really bad days. Like they go through something that's just awful. I am of the humble opinion that you start to notice people that have more bad days than good days. And no matter what, it's always a bad day. And they can tell you why it's a bad day, but they can't tell you how they're going to get through the bad day. It's just they're drowning and they refuse to maybe take a buoy.
sure.
Case in point, had a friend who was having some financial trouble, and we sat down and made a budget. And later on, that friend starts having financial trouble again. And I asked if they wanted to review the budget, and then the friend was having trouble again. And it's just like, I want to be helpful for you, but I don't know what else to do because this is a pattern. And maybe you're going to have to feel the burn for a little while to understand why you're in the pattern. I I don't know. I'm not a life coach or anything like that, but like you said, everybody knows someone who's got. It's just that it's like they're trying to run and their shoelaces are tied together, and they just keep falling flat on their face.
Sure.
And you're like, untie your shoelaces, and they're like, nah, it's good. They just keep falling.
That's a good analogy. I like that analogy. Yeah, I'm of about the same opinion. For me, I'll definitely try to help people several times. But once I see the pattern of they don't want help, they just want handouts,
Yes.
that's when it's different. It's like if you're trying to get through things and trying, then yeah, I'd love to help. I want to see you succeed. But at some point, it's like if you don't necessarily want to succeed and you just kind of want to use people, I'm not that person. I'm not the person to be used, you know?
Sure, and I want to be really careful here because I want to avoid the notion that we're pedestaling ourselves or anything.
Right, yeah, same. It's not like that. I think this is just, in general, anyone who's trying to do anything important with their life or raise a family successfully, even, you just got to be careful about who you kind of let into your life sometimes. And I don't think that's necessarily putting on a pedestal. You just need to protect people you care about, including yourself.
One thing that always stands out to me is people talk about needing help with money. Like I don't have enough money to pay my bills, and you're like, all right, but you follow them either through a text message or a Facebook or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
and as you do that for a couple of years, you're like, you've been on an awful lot of vacations. You drive a car that's nicer than mine. Your cell phone is a flagship phone. I mean, have you ever considered that maybe your lifestyle is contributing to your problem? Just a thought.
Yeah, that's a very American problem.
Ah,
It's
yes.
because it's so easy to get credit and get loans and go to rent a center and get a nice TV and just take pictures of it. I always find that a bit strange.
I was talking with one of my relatives today about our materialistic society and the idea that we like to brag about our successes. We as a people.
Yeah.
So people they buy the big TV and they put it in their nice house and they flaunt their new car. But those are temporary things. All of them are designed to fall apart. So you're going to have to replace them and maintain them. And it's just you have a finite amount of money. Like understanding that unless you get a raise or unless you spend less, you always have a finite amount of money. Like it's the only way you'll ever advance. Get more money or spend less. That's a kind of a Dave Ramsey thing. Not trying to steal from him, but
Gotcha.
the the idea that a middle class person is supposed to have, a cell phone and bitchin' fast internet and a nice car or two and a nice house. It's like build up to that. Save. Put money in savings because you never know when you'll get freaking laid off. It's happened. And I have
Yeah.
money put back for emergencies because I can't predict the future, but I
Yeah.
can prepare for it.
Well said. Yeah, I guess that's like a tough topic, and it's hard to say everything right when that kind of topic, but
And sure. And I mean, I can only give my account of what I've experienced. Like I don't want to offend anybody or anything like that, but
right. It's inevitable. You say no matter how perfect you say something, there's always going to be offended people, so you can only worry so much about that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm curious to see what other people think about that sort of thing, but I feel like we're probably not too far off base. All right, well, I guess we could wrap this up. We're kind of at a natural closing point, I feel like. Do you got anything else you can think of that you might want to talk about that we haven't touched on?
yeah, I got one.
Sure.
Going back to going back to Omnicare, age 24, the day that we got laid off. So I'm a kid. I got jeans on. I got my little rock and roll T-shirt, and life is great. And I go into our break room. because we had a company supplied fridge, and like the company would put like milk and orange juice and just random crap in there, and I was always looking for a free meal or like a second breakfast or whatever. Mind you, I wasn't stealing from other people's lunches. It was just the
It was
company had stuff that you could eat. Like,
gotcha. Yeah.
small place. And as I walk in, I see there's free burrito coupons on the table because we are VIP business customers. And there's this burrito place called Baja Fresh down the road, and they're just opening. So they're trying to, get the word out.
Yeah.
So I grabs me a stack of like 30 of them. I'm going to give these to my coworkers. And as I'm trotting back to my coworkers, I get diverted into a meeting room, and then we all get laid off. And at the end of the PowerPoint slideshow that I talked about, I felt tension in the room because an entire room full of people just got laid off. And like there were people that started to cry, there were people that started to scream, and like I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like this is how it went down, and I'm just like, oh, this is not good.
So wait. Let me just for clarity. So Intravet got closed and you got the 90-day notice, but Omnicare got like a same day shutdown layoff.
I'm not sure with Omnicare because I left Omnicare before it closed. This was back at Intravet. Sorry,
Okay.
Lots of jobs. Intravet, the day of the 90-day layoff.
Okay.
This is the meeting that's going on. Thanks for the clarify. The guy beside me starts like, what's the word I'm looking for? Hyperventilating. Like he's breaking down. Like he's really suffering.
That's
he's
rough.
Sweating real bad. And I just instinctively, the guy's like at the front's like, "Do you have any questions?" Like corporate guy, and my hand flies up. And he looks at me stupid because, I got my hand up. He's like, "You?" And I hold up the stack of 30 burrito coupons. I'm like, "Hey, I got a question. I just got these free VIP customer burrito coupons, and I was curious, like, do you happen to know if Baja Fresh will still accept them? Because we just got laid off." And the room explodes with laughter because this guy's trying to answer a stupid ass question that nobody should have asked.
You, sir, are a legend.
And we all went to Baja Fresh for lunch that day.
I love that we can wrap this up with the burrito story.
I mean,
It's just perfect.
you do realize the pun, right?
Yeah. Makes it even better. All right, Josh, thanks for coming on.
It is my great pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to yeet your application out there with Zeet. Every new sign up helps the channel. Link down below. We'll see you next time here on Code Tech Tutorials. Peace.